Alright, Horrible Harry and the Ant Invasion. Yesterday we ended the first chapter. And it ended with Harry being horribly happy. That's because Mrs. Mackle ended up giving him a second chance, right? At his job. So now we're on Horrible Harry in the square dance. Miss Mackle stood in front of the room. This Friday we are going to have a square dance. All the boys groaned, except Harry. I knew what Harry was thinking. He wanted to dance with Song Lee. Harry has had a crush on Song Lee since kindergarten. That's when she brought in Potato Beetle for show and tell. Oh, a potato beetle. She didn't say anything, but she passed a box around with a small striped bug in it. Harry looked at the bug, then at Song Lee. It was true love. Friday afternoon, Miss Mackle led our class down to the gym. She had a record under her arm. It was a Virginia reel. Now, she said, I want the boys to line up behind Sydney and the girls to line up behind Mary. I don't want to dance with her, Sydney said, looking at Mary across from him. Also, Sydney must be a boy. Miss Mackle put the record down and then she looked at Sydney. She had her hands on her hips. That's funny because didn't she just say she doesn't wait? I want the boys. Oh, okay. So it looks like Miss Mackle's upset because Sydney said, I don't want to dance with her. Sydney, one of the reasons I have dancing is we need to learn manners. Sydney put his head down. We must say thank you to everyone we dance with. Being polite is very important. After a moment of silence, Miss Mackle added, anybody who doesn't agree with dancing with the teacher can dance with the teacher after school. When we'll go over these rules. Sydney turned green and all the girls giggled. I'm sure they don't want to dance with the teacher, right? All the boys groaned. I did too. Dancing with the teacher would be deadly. Miss Mackle showed the girls how to curtsy. Then she showed the boys how to bow. Everyone practiced. I made a face. I hate dancing. When I looked across the floor, I looked at my partner. It was Song Lee. Harry gave me a jab in the side. Move over, he said. I'm dancing with her. I didn't mind at all. There were more boys than girls, and no one was standing next to Song Lee. You have Miss X, Miss Mackle said to me. I beamed. Dancing with no one wasn't bad at all. Miss Mackle then showed us how to do the Virginia reel. Harry walked over and took Song Lee's hand. He wanted to get ready early. Not yet, Miss Mackle said. I haven't even turned the music on. Everybody laughed. Harry held up his fist. When the music finally did go on, the boys walked across the floor and bowed. The girls walked across the floor and curtsied. Now, let's do the Virginia reel, Miss Mackle called. Sydney walked over and took Mary's hands. His eyes were closed. They sashayed down the center. Then they joined their lines. You didn't stop to twirl her under your arm, Miss Mackle complained. Harry was next. He walked over and took Song Lee's hand, and then they sashayed down the center. They stopped, put up his arm, and Song Lee twirled around and then curtsied. Harry bowed so low his curly hair touched his knees. Bravo, Miss Mackle called. It's funny, he's wearing his boots and cowboy hat. Harry flashed his white teeth. Song Lee looked down at her black shoes. When I came across with Miss X, everyone laughed. The next time we went through the line, we had new partners. I had Ida, and Sydney had Song Lee. When Sydney went over to take Song Lee's hands, he had his eyes closed again. He didn't want to dance with a girl. Instead of looking where he was going, he walked right into her and they bumped heads. Song Lee put her hand on her forehead. There was a big bump and a red mark on her forehead. She was trying not to cry, but everyone could see the tears on her cheek. Harry raised a fist at Sydney. Miss Mackle sent Song Lee to the nurse. Then she said, we will have one more dance, Sydney, and you must be more careful. He should keep his eyes open, I said. Miss Mackle walked over to Sydney. Were you dancing with your eyes closed? Sydney shook his head. Nope, they were wide open the whole time like this. The class stared at Sydney's eyes. They looked like giant white gumballs. Then he made them revolve around and around, kind of like roll around and around. Miss Mackle turned and put the needle on the record. Harry raised 2 fists. I knew what he was thinking. Double revenge. When we returned to the classroom, Song Lee was sitting in her chair with an ice bottle against her forehead. Just then, the 3 o'clock bell rang. Harry offered to take the bottle back to the nurse for her. Song Lee thanked him and then went out of the classroom to get her coat. As the rest of the class lined up to go home, Harry said, Hey, Sydney, meet me at the corner. I have a little present for you. You do? Sydney said. I'm going to stop right there. What are you inferring that Harry has for Sydney? He says, I have a little present for you based on what happened so far in this chapter. What do you think Harry has for Sydney? We'll find out tomorrow. I have my prediction, but I'm going to wait to see what you guys think.